Good morning, welcome back to the workshop. It is great to have you here. I was approached recently by somebody that works near my workshop, and he asked if I could build a cushion storage box to match some existing furniture in their house. He gave me 5 dimensions: the internal width, depth, height of the box, as well as the diameter and height of the feet, or the furniture bunks. So I mocked something up in SketchUp, sent it along for approval, and then built this. If you're interested, stick around and I'll show you what I did.
This project started out how most of my projects start, by mocking up in SketchUp and then wondering how exactly I'd actually build it. Well, build day came, and here is how. I started with the riskier pieces, the top and the bottom of the unit, as these were not only the largest pieces, but also had rounded corners and a 360-degree profile. After cutting to size using my track saw, I marked the corners with a roll of electrical tape, cut them off, and used a failed bandsaw box offcut to sand them smooth. Then, using my plunge router, after having exhausted a whole bunch of offcuts practicing, I added the profile to the top. Added the profile, routed the profile. And after my best big bad wolf impression, I lightly sanded away any splinters and inspected my masterpiece so far. Suffice it to say, I was feeling pretty good at this point. Then it was just a case of cutting the remaining larger pieces, the sides, front and back, and cutting them to the right height. I'm still very impressed with how nicely this track saw actually cuts. If you're looking for a track saw, I'll leave a link to another video I have unboxing this one, along with a few tips in the video description. With the box carcass pieces cut and ready, it is time to start some simple assembly. First, I lay out the frame of the box, and using these cheap corner alignment clamps from Aldi, get it standing upright and relatively square. Using an assortment of corner clamps, some 3D printed and branded, I can make sure that the box is actually square before making a story stick for the fixings. This may have been overkill for this, but there was an added side effect that the 9mm MDF meant lining my holes with the centre of the adjacent board was a doddle. Then it's just a case of marking, drilling, and screwing. I did go back after this and add some glue to the joint too. Next, I chopped out some recesses for the flush fit hinges that will secure the lid. I recessed these into the box frame but not the lid to remove any shadow gaps from the top so that it closes nice and tightly. I opted for 3 hinges instead of 2 for a bit of added strength and longevity. As this closes flush, it provides a firm platform for bums to sit on. Using as much of the offcut material as I could, I then cut a series of narrow strips to form the panel frames for the front of the box. These were ripped on a table saw, cut to length at the miter saw, and then angled 45 degrees at each end of the rails and stiles. With all of the frames ready, I could now add the profile to those too. Once again, I had tested this fairly extensively before sending it, and I'm pretty happy with how they turned out too. It's just a shame that the first thing I did was to throw them on the floor. Before I fix the frame and panels in place, I mark out where the lid is going to go and pre-drill the hinges using a self-centering drill bit. And now we're on to the real assembly portion. The frames are assembled off camera but are now glued and tacked with brad nails to the front of the box. We can ignore that I've put the top of the middle frame at the bottom, as it doesn't really matter. And with the frames in place, I can secure the panels. These are only tacked in with a small gap at the side so they're later fill with a flexible caulk. I could have bought furniture buns for this project for around £1 each, but I wanted to try making them instead. Yes, it took a lot longer, but as you can see, I clearly need the practice. I could also do with a much better sharpening setup for turning chisels. This one leaves them a bit too warm to the touch afterwards. This is just 3 4x2 CLS planed flat and glued together. Each bun is to be about 80mm wide by 60mm tall. And with them close enough, a quick sand gets them ready for the bandsaw. Before the safety police get in the comments, I know this is generally not great practice to cut circular material like this, but I don't have an awful lot of options. Feet on and we're on the home stretch. I start by marking and pre-drilling the holes for the base to fix to the box frame, adding glue and securing. The very last step of the assembly is to attach the lid. This was a little bit awkward, I could have used an extra pair of hands, but I got it done nonetheless. And with a final check or two to make sure that there is an equal overhang all the way around the box before I put the last few screws into the lid. And we're done.
Unfortunately, I thought I took some footage to show around the box when it was finished, but I didn't. I took it before the lid was on and before it had been filled and sanded, so I'm just going to have to stick with pictures, I'm afraid. The box is gone. I will never ever see it again. Thank you for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, leave a comment, or maybe subscribe if you haven't already. If you didn't like the video, dislike the video. Let me know in the comments what you didn't like, or what you did like. It all helps. And I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.